We don't need to see that face anymore. So welcome, everyone. I'd like to start with a big thank you to MEF, to Dario, Susan, and the entire team. Terrific venue. Obviously had not been here before, been to London many times over decades, but never here. So absolutely fantastic and well done. And I'd also like to say thank you for the year. We've been supporting MEF all year in different places around the world, and the team's done a fantastic job supporting us, and looking forward to 2024. So we're doing, I think, more next year together. So really excited to be part of the MEF journey into 2024. So very exciting. So I won't be talking about RCS today. I'm sorry if that disappoints any of you. I will be talking about fraud, and will we ever stop talking about fraud? I think we probably all know the answer to that question, but nonetheless, we'll spend a few minutes here talking about some of the things that we see in the market, and then some of the things we're helping the market with globally, in fact. So we're all living a fraud tsunami. It's endless. This just it's continuing to grow. We can't escape it. I think we all know that. It was interesting coming over here on Monday. The plane lands, I turn my phone on, it connects, and the first thing I start getting is there's messages from internally on our internal messaging platform about CEO impersonation scam happening to us over text. So I thought that's very timely. We just can't escape it. And as Dario said, this wasn't planned. We didn't coordinate any of these slides. But spam, a fertile ground for fraud, but it's happening on every channel, and it's been happening, years on email. Email's cleaned up a lot better than it was, but still a long way to go. We're seeing it with text and voice. And what's really interesting is the phone number now is as much a personal identifier as we all know in this room, and for all of you online, the phone number is as much a personal identifier, maybe more than an email address now. It's really part of our personal identity that we carry around with us. So what's interesting about that, in this forum, we tend to talk about consumer fraud a lot, but all of these channels make their way onto devices which end up on our corporate networks. Even if we've got separate phone for consumer and for our work life, we end up with these devices, with these channels, and then the advent of bring your own device a few years ago, and then working from home with COVID sees more and more of the threat landscape moving into the corporate environment. So from a cyber perspective, it's not just about, when we're talking about fraud here, it's not just about consumer fraud. I think we have to keep in mind the cyber impact here that we're seeing. And cyber investment skyrocketing, cyber attacks skyrocketing. Recent report out about the US market, a research report there highlighted that 40% of the FTEs in the typical IT department in North America are now dedicated to cyber, which I thought was a fascinating stat. Certainly, I'm sure you're all seeing it in your own businesses. We certainly are. The amount of money that we're spending now on cyber activities in general, training personnel, mitigating fraud in different ways across our network, just continues to cost more and more money. And then regulatory reach increasing. So in July this year, the SEC for public companies in the US outlined a new set of rules and reporting requirements. So I think it's 4 days now under that SEC rule. So it's that regulatory reach continues to increase and get deeper within our businesses. And even if you're not public, there's more and more pressure as private companies to support this. And we all know with GDPR, from a privacy standpoint, 72-hour reporting requirements. So cyber, when we're talking about fraud and all of these channels really pushing its way into the corporate space and expanding the attack surface around cyber. So as an industry, it's really important for us to keep investing here. And I think the answer to this question is communications fraud won't go away. Maybe there'll be a point where our AI overlords with QStar maybe change the answer to the question, but certainly I think we'll be talking about this forevermore. Our job really is to make sure that the perpetrators of fraud have a harder and harder time succeeding, and it's more and more costly for them, and we continue to push them out of all of these channels as much as possible. But as an industry, I think we do a really good job across the board, across a whole range of trade associations, with MEF leading the charge, obviously, pulling together a whole range of solutions, a whole range of codes of conduct and frameworks that we all adopt and use, which are terrific. But I think there was Dario said a little bit earlier, and I wasn't going to touch on it, but given we're in an area where there's clearly a lot of lawyers within a small radius, I think one of the things we don't do as an industry well enough is talk about these things that we do to regulators. I think there's a strong chance of getting regulators solutioning for industry rather than providing the right frameworks to allow us to all respond to the market with solutions in a timely manner, because maybe we don't spend enough time really marketing and publicizing the really good work we do as industry across the board. And I'm not referring to any one particular geography, but certainly I think this is the case in North America. You can really easily get tightly regulated there, I think, if you don't talk about all of these great things that we're doing as an industry. So a little bit of a sidebar there, but I think it's worth us considering that as we go forward with the investments that we all make here as an industry and as a team. So all of this great work leads us to the ability, our product team led by Catalin here put this together, this what I'd call our fraud mitigation matrix. So all of this great work we do is with all of these industry bodies allow us to identify all of these different types of fraud and all of these different schemes, and we can categorize them by channel, victim, and impact. And as we can see, it's quite can be quite confusing and quite complicated to solve these problems, as we all know. So for an enterprise, prioritization is critical. When you look at this, where am I getting attacked? What do I need to do? Where do I need to spend my time to overcome this? So these are really good. I think this is a really good way to visualize the challenge that we have and that we're looking to solve. But unfortunately, what we find is that all of that great work that we do, identifying that and coming up with solutions, leads to a fragmented set of different options to solve these problems with. Just a few of them here listed. But as you can see, if you're an enterprise, it's a very, very challenging thing to understand, A, what the problem space is, and B, how to take these solutions and apply them to your business. What makes this even more complex is the fact that geographically they're all different. So depending on where you are in the world and what you're trying to solve, these very same things will all present themselves slightly differently. So it is a very confusing space to be in. So, but fortunately, phone number intelligence comes to the rescue in a lot of these cases. So I love this quote. Norman Cousins, a journalist who's left us a while ago, but I think this is a great quote, can be applied to a whole lot of different things in life and in business, but certainly applies here. History is a vast early warning system, and I think this certainly applies when thinking about phone number intelligence and how to take a maybe slightly different view of this problem. So when we're talking about phone number intelligence from a net number standpoint, what does this mean? It really means it's not just about data about a phone number. That's a very simple view. It's about metadata, but most importantly, activity. The activity around that number and that activity over a period of time. So fundamentally, it starts with the integrity of the phone number. Is the number a valid number or not? And looking globally, there's a lot of ways to look at that and understand that. But then the most important part is the history of that number. What has this number done over time? And historically, this number could have been around for a long time. It could have been trusted, but maybe things have happened to that. So understanding the history of that number, understanding has it been involved in some sort of banking fraud? Does it appear on a DNO or DNC list? All of these things are really critical to understand as you build up to a reputation score. And this is something we're seeing more and more in the industry and more valued by our customers, this concept of a reputation score for a phone number. And then lastly, what's the status of that number? So once you've built through the history and you understand where you are with the number, what's the status of that number at a point in time? And can I trust that number? Is it trustworthy or not at that very point in time? So importantly, this must happen in real time because things move quickly, as we know in this market. A number could be trusted, half an hour ago, a couple of hours ago, but right now something may have happened. It could have ended up on one of those lists. So this is a really critical piece of understanding around this type of solution. So when we look back at that fraud mitigation matrix, this really then simplifies and makes the implementation of this a lot easier. So if you're an enterprise and you're looking to solve these problems, it takes away the complexity of dealing with multiple vendors, multiple data sets. It does a lot of the work that needs to be done intrinsically to tie all of that data together. And again, I'll say in real time. So certainly a big step forward. And like I said, we've seen the reputation scoring part really over the last 12 months really accelerate here with these solutions. And just to wrap all this up, what does the landscape look like? And you could draw this slide a whole bunch of different ways for a whole bunch of different regions around the world. So we'll just take this fairly simply and say from a carrier perspective, first of all, more and more carriers are offering APIs and access to their data, which is terrific. The challenge with that, again, if you're an enterprise, is a lot of different APIs, a lot of different pricing structures and schemes and data sets. So a little complex, but a great initiative and certainly terrific for the industry and great for us. We incorporate more and more of these over time as they become available. One of the things we're seeing more and more of in different markets, consumer complaints making their way back and carriers making that available. So that's also a very good but early stage initiative, but very important. Traffic analytics providers, again, in different regions, very, very successful at warning the consumer of potential fraud or spam in real time. They're terrific, but they tend to not hold a lot of data, historical data, so and generally limited to the networks that they're working with. So extraordinarily effective and valuable, but again, a terrific resource, a terrific set of signals, but again, need to be taken in context with the rest of the data. And then finally, our solution. So we take hundreds of data sets from different suppliers all around the world. We bring those together with our own data, our own set of signals from our own network. We operate a global network. We do hundreds of billions of transactions across that network for our customer base. So we take the data, the signals, and we bring that together with our own set of proprietary technology to provide the scoring what we call the net number confidence index, or the NNCI. Effectively, this is the reputation score that I talked about. So as I said, over the last 12 months, seen a very good uptick here in the take-up of the service and the effectiveness of fighting fraud using those capabilities. Real-time service, able to look at any phone number effectively around the world. So I looked it up in real time. Obviously, different geographies are more effective than others, depending on the amount of data available from those countries. One thing I'd give everyone an early a sneak peek of here. We are about, I think it'll be today, Catalin, we're about to release a couple of new products for the North American market, our Number Lock and Number Watch products. So Number Lock will allow us to protect brands' 10-digit numbers. So prevent 10-digit numbers in North America from being text-enabled at the if the brand so desires. Think of a bank. Typical banks run between 50,000 to 250,000 numbers in their inventory. In the US, you can text-enable 10-digit non-mobile numbers. So the service will allow those brands to effectively put those numbers on a list to prevent them from being text-enabled. And then Number Watch will alert the enterprise if someone tries to text-enable that service or that number changes state. So again, a terrific mechanism there to allow brands to be able to protect their reputation. So just in closing, if you don't have phone number intelligence, you only have a phone number, and it's probably not a great place to start fighting fraud. So with that, I'll say thank you for the time and hand it back to Dario or Ross.
Any questions?
Are there any questions in the room?
Throw out the hard questions, and Catalin will take them.
Okay. Lee, any questions online as well?
No.
It's going to be tricky. Could you pass this to Lee, please?
Hi, it's Lee Suka from Cinch. So great presentation. Thank you. The question is, there's a high profile aggregator out there that's on the wrong side of an investigation from Max Schrems doing something similar. What's your take on that?
I think it's a very different service to the one we're talking about here. So we're not talking about any name information here or subscriber data. Catalin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Any other questions? We got one in the back. Gene.
Could you pass it to the right? Sorry.
Maybe I can speak loud.
I can hear you.
Steve, thanks for the presentation. G Parts from BTS. Interesting that how you started off, because the fact is that we're all subject to hacking our corporations and stuff. I'm wondering if and it's difficult to measure because there's ransom payments, there's a lot of money that's crossing that, tough to tabulate. Do you think that's part of that 47 billion that Dario mentioned in the beginning? Or is it on top
the
of that?
cyber, I think, is on top of that. Yeah, and separate too. Yeah.
Would you calculate any ball field?
Not off the top of my head, but I would say probably more.
We have a number. We've heard the number. It's not ours. 82 billion.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh,
82 billion. 82. Dario says 82 billion for those online.
But it's not our number.
But not his number, so there's the disclaimer. If it's wrong, it's not his fault.
And he could probably have a number. If it's wrong, it's not.
If it's right,
It's all
he'll take the credit.
Any other questions? I have one. Steve, what do you think of the role of MEF and similar trade bodies in combating fraud?
As I said, really, really important to keep the industry moving forward and keep us all. Everyone's got their day jobs. So without people moving that ball along, I think we'd all easily get lost in our day-to-day. So absolutely critical. But I go back to the point of the really good work that we do. You don't hear about that well, certainly I'll say from a North American standpoint, you don't hear about that or don't hear enough about that from a regulatory standpoint. So I think we would do ourselves all a favor to promote that more and make that a higher profile activity within the right audience around the regulators.
Great. Thank you for sponsoring. Round of applause, please. Thank you.